Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Lumio Palooza global event, where we are providing fun, fresh PD opportunities, highlighting how Lumio can provide fluid workflow that benefits teachers and students. We'll show you how to create lessons and activities focused on a variety of topics, including classroom instructional strategies. My name is Anshu Opal, and I am a customer success manager from Ottawa. This webinar, Student Success Under Construction Using Formative Assessments and Data, features Dr. Bonnie Skinner from Maryland, USA. We also have Paris Avery Smith, another customer success manager, supporting us in the chat. We encourage participation. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat box during the presentation, and we'll either integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the end during our Q&A period. We'll be sharing resources from today's webinar in the chat. And also, as you guys know, for participating today, a certificate will be provided after you complete a brief survey. So at this time, I am going to turn things over to Dr. Bonnie so that we can dive into today's webinar. Over to you, Dr. Bonnie.
Thank you, Anshu. So as she mentioned, we will be doing a presentation today about formative assessment. I like to call it Success Under Construction because this is our students learning the materials we're trying to teach them and us trying to see if they've learned the materials the way that we think they should. So as Anshu mentioned, my name is Dr. Bonnie Skinner. As you can see from my pictures here, I do live in Maryland. I'm a military spouse. My husband retired after many years, and I had the opportunity to live in some amazing places in Washington State and Iceland and in Maryland. And I am also a registered nurse as well as a national board certified teacher. I collect lighthouses and love to go visit them. And I have just returned from a dive trip, and you can see a little picture of me in Fiji. So I have 4 kids and 4 grandkids who I love to spend time with. So that is a quick introduction that we will do a little activity with a little later. So I am very passionate about formative assessment because I feel like this is something we should do every day in our classrooms. And as we're going through a lesson and through the day, we're adjusting our instruction. So for our agenda today, I like to use things called success criteria or learning goals. So I post these for my students in the classroom. So I'm posting them for you since you're my students in my classroom today. So the first one is we are learning how formative assessment contributes to student success and learning. And as you can see there, I put a little highlighted version of learning is acquired knowledge and understanding. The second objective is to understand the tools and how we can engage students in learning to build better classrooms. And then finally, we're learning how our quietest voices in our classrooms can be heard by using formative assessment in any type of a learning environment. So we're going to start right off, and I'm going to put up the lesson ID so that you can all join. As you can see from this screen, we're using teacher pacing. So the class ID is 387975. So if everybody would like to join in, I'll give everybody a few minutes to get joined in. You can also make this big screen so people can join with the QR code. I like to post this on my board, bulletin board, smart board, wherever you can post it in your class. And once your students get used to it, that's your unique ID so they can all log in when they come into the class and see that you're using Lumio to do a formative assessment. So you can also post a link. If you were doing student pacing, you can copy that link and post it into your platform. or wherever you're using, if you're virtual, or you want to send it to a student who is absent so that they can follow along with the lesson or go back and see what you did, you can always use the link. All right, so the first activity that we have here is a little response. This is a poll. So if you're all logged in, everybody should be able to start answering the poll. And I'm going to restart it just to make sure everybody can get logged in. And as you can see, there is a poll here about what is your favorite formative assessment activity. And I just picked some that I had learned from my research that people enjoyed using in their classrooms. So you can put anything in your polls. And I am doing a percentage. As you can see, there are other ways to display the results. So we can see that the one winning at this moment is Kahoot or GimKit, like technology games, the entrance exit tickets, which are a very popular one, and Lumio. Yay! A few other ones. It looks like Ed Puzzle is not anyone's favorite. What do we have? Questioning polls. Those are nice to use, quick, easy activities. We still have Kahoot and GimKit winning at this time. So I'll end this activity in 5 seconds. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So as you can see, you can review your results, and you can see what the students chose. And if it's just to get an opinion, then you have an opinion, which was my purpose for this poll. I want to mention that there are other polling activities that you can use. There's one called Slides with Friends. It has a small monthly fee or a fee. There's one called AHA Slides, Mentimeter, Poll Everywhere, Survey Monkey, and then the Kahoot activity, which a lot of you chose, has a slider scale that students can use to poll. So this is an excellent way for students to be involved in the learning. It's really easy. It's engaging. Everybody answers. You can see who's answered and who hasn't answered. I like to point out down here, then you have export your results. So if you want to save this for later to go back and review or post it somewhere, you have the export results. And I did put other in there. So there is a question mark and somebody added one. So if you want to put in the chat what that is, then maybe later they can share with us what the other activity was, because I always like to hear about formative assessment. So other things you can find that are useful in your classroom for the beginning of school are getting to know you or beginning of the year activities. Last year, I used the teen playlist, which I saw at Lumio Palooza last year, sorry. And that was really fun. I had my students put their favorite songs that were school appropriate at the end. I teach teenagers, so we had a school playlist and for each class. And when they would come in, and sometimes they were doing their warm up or their formative assessment, we'd play music and things. So that was fun. They have a Would You Rather game that in their library that you can play, a student spotlight where you can have students put information on there and share it with the class. And there's back to school bingos. A back to school kindness bingo was one that I really liked that was available. So with that, I've been participating today, and there were a lot of shouted out activities. So I am going to start this shouted out because this was an activity I did for my students at the beginning of the year last year. And it was called Investigate Dr. Skinner. So as they came in the classroom, they had to look around and see things that they could see that they found out about me. And then they had to put little notes on there about what they had found. So I did add a little background to this activity so that you could see that you can add a background, or you can have your own little classic background. So there's places where you can put pictures relating, and I've seen people doing that today. So I see that people have already contributed. So as you saw, I went and did the restart, and you can, starting new activity clears all the previous contributions, so you could start it again, but I don't want to do that. So you can then see what people have posted as contributions. This activity I must have made anonymous or hidden so that we can't see all of the results, but I can see that everybody is posting activities here. And then
yeah, you do need to hit the start button, I guess, for now.
I accidentally turned it off. Okay, so we can either display names or we can not display names. I had it display names. I only allowed one contribution per student. So if you were in a hurry and you wanted to do an activity that was quick, you could have a limit on the number of responses that people were putting in. So you could put up to 3, you can put however many responses you want to put. But as you can see, I told you guys to put a picture because I wanted to try it with images rather than words. So I see that somebody put a lighthouse and somebody put some flowers, and there is evil genius. So you can go to each one and see what they have posted. There's a diving picture, of course. Awesome. So as students' responses show up, you're able to see if they're getting what you wanted them to learn, or if you want to go back and reteach them something. So we'll end this activity in 5 seconds. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that is a shouted out activity, which is really easy to add in and do with your students. So the next activity that I'm going to show you is showing you one of my favorite quotes, which is past is experience, present is experiment, future is expectation, and use your experience in your experiments to achieve your expectations. And I think that's what we do every day in our teaching profession. So for this activity, you are going to now fill in the blanks. So obviously I made this really easy for you guys, not having lots of time to share with you today, but everybody can, on their own individual worksheets, choose which words go with what. So you can drop and drag these up into the boxes, and it'll tell you if you've got it right or if you've got it wrong, and then you can check your answers and see that they were both correct. So then you can review how everybody did, or you can restart it if you want to give them another chance, or if they want to have another chance. Now, the other thing I'm going to point out here, which is kind of fun, is you can turn music on. So they could have music playing while they're doing this activity. There are some game elements you can choose, buzzers and randomizers, so you can select student names, and you can also set a timer while they're doing this activity. As I said, you could go back and restart it and add some more elements to the activity if you wanted to. I'm known for that. Sorry, my timer. Okay, so the next activity we're going to look at is what words do you use to describe formative assessment? So for this activity, I wanted to show how you can go in and add, you can make this an activity that the students can participate in, or you can add a new activity right here from make this a new whiteboard page. You can make it a whole class whiteboard. You can make it a shout it out. So we're going to make this a whole class whiteboard page at this point. So since we're talking about formative assessment, for this whole class whiteboard, everybody can use pictures. You can write you can use your eraser, you can type. So as students, you have the option to use whatever things you like. So your students are all going to have their own choice of what they like to post. Or you can tell them, I want you all to type something, I want you all to write something, so they can have their own choices again. Awesome. I see some listening, informs the teacher about needs, time sensitive. Oh, I love the one about gives both students and teachers valuable information about learning. That is perfect because they can do peer evaluations, they can evaluate themselves, they can see where they are in their learning goals and success criteria. And if people are, I love how you're playing with adding the pictures and the check marks and all the activity, all the things that Lumio has added that you can put in there. So that's perfect. Collaborative. Okay, so we're going to end this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I like how somebody went and found the formative, quick feedback, instant results. That's perfect. All right, so moving on. This for two purposes, I added this. One is this is Dylan Williams, and he is the premier in formative assessment, has written a lot of books and done the research called The Black Box on formative assessment. So I'm going to play this little video just to remind everybody about formative assessment and how useful it is. And also to point out that you can add a YouTube video to your lesson very easily, and that is an excellent feature in Lumio, so you can put a video clip in as you're doing your lesson or your formative assessment activities. So we'll listen to this and then I'll get some feedback on this.
To me, formative assessment describes all those processes by which teachers and learners use information about student achievement to make adjustments to the students' learning that improve their achievement. So it's about using the information to adapt your teaching and adapt the work of the students to put the learning back on track, if you like, to make sure that the learning is proceeding in the right direction and to support that learning. So it's what happens when you don't just lecture students and rattle through the material until you get to the end and ask them if they've understood it okay. It's constantly making those adjustments. One of the ways I like to talk about it is just imagine what would happen if a pilot flew like many teachers assess. So I flew back from Seattle a few weeks ago. Just imagine what the pilot would have done. He would have flown east for 9 hours, and then after 9 hours he'd say it's time to land. So he'll put the plane down and he'll ask, is this London? And of course, even if it's not London, he says, well, everybody's got to get off because I've got to get onto the next journey. And that's exactly the way that we've assessed in the past. We teach students material, and at the end of that teaching, we find out if they've learned it or not. And if they haven't, we say, too bad, because we're on to the next unit. So what formative assessment does is encourages teachers to take constant readings about where students are, just in the same way that a pilot takes constant readings about their position. And if the learning isn't proceeding as you'd planned, then you make adjustments. That's the essence, to me, of formative assessment. So the reason I think that formative assessment is the right focus is because assessment is the bridge between teaching and learning. It's only through assessment of some kind that you know whether what has been taught has been learned. And that's why I think this focus on this assessment process, minute by minute and day by day, not at the end of a sequence of learning, minute and day by day, allows teachers to reflect on their practice and make small steps in improving that practice in a more powerful way than anything we've seen before.
So this video is kind of old, but it reminds us to keep making adjustments to our teaching practice to help our students. So some reasons why we use formative assessment are if our students don't know or understand, if they look lost or confused. And the hard part about COVID and teaching virtually is that you can't always see your students because they don't have their screens on or whatever. So doing these activities helps you see where they're at, even if they're not sitting in front of you. Formative assessment guides your instruction, and it contributes to student success by involving them in learning. And that was already mentioned by many of you as we were going along in one of the previous activities. So they get buy-in and engagement. So on the question is, do you grade formative assessment or not grade? And some teachers have a big problem not grading everything because the students want to grade for everything. But I put a quote up here saying, I'm just starting to learn this. I don't really understand yet. I'm a novice. So if we're teaching students something and we're not really sure that they know where they're going or that they've got to their goal, I personally don't think it's fair to grade formative assessments. I think it's us trying to find out where they're at. Some people disagree with me and think you should grade formative assessment. So in this activity, I have created some infinite cloners for you all to drop and drag. So if you don't think formative assessment should be graded, you can drag an X over to the no. If you think it should, you can drag a green check over to the yes. If you're not really sure, you can put one in the middle, and put an X and a check in the middle so that you're not really sure what you want to do, or maybe sometimes you grade it and sometimes you don't. So with these infinite cloners, you're able to see where your students are, like what they're finding. And infinite cloners are really easy to put into your activities. So this shows that I have added an infinite cloner to this. So when you put an object into your whiteboard page or whatever slide or whatever you're using, you can have a little drop down right here, and then you can make the infinite cloner as one of the drop downs. So you'll get this little square around it, and there will be a drop down here to create the infinite cloner. If your kids are going crazy and you're like, okay, that's enough, you can disable it. So that's just another tool that we can use with our Lumio. So I can see that most people said yes or no, they do not grade formative assessments. So just a thought for you to think about as you move on into the new school year. All right, so this is an example of an activity I found on Lumio in the Lumio library using infinite cloners. And this is Wordle, and I don't know how many people play Wordle, but I love to play Wordle. So as you can see, the first guess up here was smart, and so they dragged over the gray to say that that letter is not in it and is wrong. And then you have the green, it's in the right place. So if we're looking for the word learn, then we know that the A and the R were in the right place. And you can use these hash infinite cloned things to say yes, the R, or you can cross off the letters that they used that were in the wrong spot, or if they so now we have an L in here. So you can play Wordle with this. I usually like to play this up on my smart board so that everybody can be involved and see what's going on. But again, the thing I like to point out is that you can share this with students that were absent so they can see what they missed. So you're not leaving anybody behind in the learning process. So this was just another example of the infinite cloner. So as a reminder, we have our different types of assessments, summative, interim, and formative. So hopefully we start with formative to look at the process, which is more important than the product. So obviously when we get to the summative assessment, we're looking for products, or we're looking for scores for the state assessment. We're looking for things to measure what the students have learned. So in these cases, and Lumio is excellent for this, for giving our students an option to learn. So I'm going to open the dashboard for you guys to do a match them up. if you model the activity, the students have to be able to see your screen. You have to be sharing like on your smart board or whatever, or sharing your screen so that they can see you modeling the activity, because on the Zoom, all you'll see is a black screen of the shared activity. So I'm going to just start the results so that we can see how everybody's doing, who's in progress, who hasn't started. Once you do all the little match them up activities, then you can push done, and that lets everybody know that you're finished. So this is our class overview view, and then we can see our student progress view over here, and it blurs it out initially so that if you don't want anybody to see the student scores, if somebody's not doing well or you're concerned about that. But if you feel like it's okay to show the scores, then you can unblur them and you can see, oh, I see somebody hasn't started the activity. Make sure you're logged in and starting your activity. And you can see there's one that's if they're not complete yet, or they logged out and they didn't finish. So you can see everybody who's in progress. So we have somebody over here who completed, so hers turned green. And sometimes I'll be guiding the students along and encouraging them to try to answer the questions. And then you can go back to your class overview, see the time that you spent, see the 5 most frequent incorrect answers so that you could do a little review. You can save these screens. This will save in your presentation in your Lumio library so that you can go back later and say, oh, I see a lot of people really missed this one and we need to do a little review on that. So I'm going to end this activity in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And some of the elements that were in there that I'm going to go back and model. I don't know if everybody can see the screen, but Ed Puzzle was one that I chose, and I saw that nobody chose that as their favorite formative assessment, but that one actually is a really good tool if you want to play a video that students can do on their own and you want to add some questions. Everybody might not know what that is, but it's a good tool to investigate. I put questions because a lot of people really like using questioning. It's something simple. The problem with using questioning where you just shout out an oral question is the people that are quiet or unsure of their answers may not answer. So using something like this makes them feel a little safer, these tools that we're showing you here. 3, 2, 1 I put on there, and I noticed in Lumio, they do have some 3, 2, 1 activities that you can assign to your students. Kahoot, we already know that's a favorite. GimKit, another game activity that people seem to really like. Entrance exit tickets, a lot of people liked. So those are a few activities that we can use for formative assessment. So when I did my research on formative assessment, these were some words that the people that were involved in my research used to describe formative assessment, and all of you were using these words earlier when I asked about it. So as if I was using this lesson to check for understanding, to see how you all are doing with formative assessment, I would say you're right on point, because a lot of you used engaging, it's informal, you're eavesdropping on your students, you're providing feedback. One thing a person told me was it creates relationships. You're creating relationships with your students when you're doing this. So now it's your turn. We had quite a few activities in here that you could practice with. So I'm going to end my lesson and give you all a chance to practice. So as you saw, you can go to the Lumio library and you can create activities. You can search for them. You can see I have a lot in my Lumio library. I did a nice end of year reflection last year. So if you want to create something in your lesson, you're going to go to this plus button down here, and you can create activities like a shout it out, which we already did. But if you want to create something new, you're going to go to the new button and you're going to find the activity you want to use. So you can import resources from your Google Drive, from a PDF, a notebook, a PowerPoint. I frequently create Lumio lessons using PowerPoints or presentations that I have. As I pointed out, you can add a YouTube video. So some of the games that we did today, we did a couple of games. So I'm going to open one up to show you how to do that. And the little graduation cap will give you some help. So one of the ones that we did was the label, the fill in the blank. Sorry, I almost did the wrong one. So fill in the blank. So you're going to open the fill in the blanks activity and you're going to type in your quote. So I'm going to type in, or your reading, or some questions with some answers. So I will type in a question. So I like this other quote. Yesterday is history. It's very relevant to the one I did. Tomorrow is a mystery. And then you would go on and finish typing, today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. Okay, so now we're going to define blank. So you're going to pick the words that you want them to work on and define the blanks. Then you're going to push next. You can choose any type of a background that you like. So I always like the C background, as you saw, but the science background is good. Monsters, purple, you can have something simple so they're not distracted by the background. And then you push finish and it will add it. And then you can have the students do the activity at the end of class. So you could do this so that at the end of class, you had them do the activity. You can have them doing it all together. You can also, like I said, have timers, randomizers. All right. So are there any questions?
I think it's going well. So we did have a couple of questions on the go, but Paris has been responding to them. So I'm sure the teachers know how to create the activities at this time, as well as there was a wonderful video that even I liked it so much, the YouTube video that you played there, Dr. Bonnie. So again, asking everyone, if you do want to see anything, if you want to know how to create any particular type of activity, let us know, and we can show you that here right now. But there will be additional resources that we are going to share and go from there. Yeah, I don't see any questions coming in. So this is our resources that Paris would drop you a link to this page. This will take you to these useful things. Learn Lumio. It's a step-by-step instruction, step-by-step on how you can learn yourself. Start with creating a basic activity or how to add a YouTube video. And there are basically 5 steps of learning Lumio. There is Lumio Academy. We definitely encourage you to sign up. It is free to join. Please remember, this is not the same as your Lumio account, so you will have to sign in first time. You'll have to create a sign up first time, so you will have to create your own account. But then you can get your additional certifications. There are level 1, level 2, that kind of things in there. There's Lumio community. We highly invite you to join our ambassadors. It's a global community, so you get to connect with so many other people, teachers, learn from their experiences and resources. And of course, our future webinars, we do offer Lumio webinars every month. So by these resources, you'll have one-stop shop for accessing everything. And then, as usual, we will put a brief survey chat in the chat, and we would request your feedback. Feedback is a gift. And after completing the survey, you will receive the PD certificate for attending this session with Tabani. And yes, everybody will receive the recording of this session. It would also be available in Lumio Academy. So I think it takes 2 to 3 days. But once you sign in there will be a section of all the sessions from our Lumio Palooza event. So feel free to go watch the recordings again if you missed any session or if you just want to recap anything. So that's something else that I wanted to call up there. Okay, we'll just stay here a couple more minutes. Again, if someone has any questions, please feel free to drop them. Otherwise, Paris did post the chat, post the survey link in the chat. So, and we do thank Dr. Bani. It was an awesome session, awesome resources. We have shared those with our folks here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting.
We had people. You will find all the resources to join our ambassador session, ambassador club, Holly. I know there's a comment from Holly, so yes, welcome to the club. Okay. And if somebody did get any issues with the certificates, let us know. We did hear a slight issue this morning, but that was fixed after that, so hopefully it should work. But if you still have any issues, I'll paste an email where you guys can let us know. Okay, I'll just paste my email here for now, and please contact me if there are any issues with your certificate. Thank you, Susan, for the comments. All right, I guess you will all get a couple minutes break before you head on to our next session. So we'll see you there. And once again, thank you everyone for participating, and thank you, Dr. Bani.
Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.